Good evening, folks. We have today in our podcast one of the best developer of the 80s, maybe one of the best developers of football games. He makes the football games that make the difference in the 80s with the other. We are speaking today with Mr. Dino Dini. Dino, good evening.
Good evening. Hi.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much to join our podcast and to attend me. For me, it's an honor and a pleasure. And I want to start to the beginning. What is your first approach to computers? Your first computer by your own, or your first computer at college or university that you have your put hands in it?
I think the first one is actually was a Hewlett-Packard 9825 A that my father.
Too old.
Hewlett-Packard 9. You see pictures of it on the internet, and when I see, if you look up that 9825, if you look, it was really like an exaggerated calculator. It was like it was huge. Had a full keyboard on it and a one-line LED display that was alphanumeric display. And whenever I see a picture of one of those, it always makes me go, because it was the first computer I ever programmed. And the reason is my father had one at his work, and he let me go in to work. And I programmed. I think the first thing I programmed on that was a noughts and crosses game.
So the first approach was just for job, not for fun or games or entertainment.
Sorry, you mean
the first approach to the computer was just for work, not for
no.
Actually.
It was my father just let me, because he knew I was interested in these things. He let me use the computer, but it was just I made a game on it. The first thing I did was make noughts and crosses on it.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, or tic-tac-toe, yeah, yeah, it was. That's what we did, and I think I was only 12 at the time. Like that.
I see. And when you get approached to the 8-bit area, the Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, Commodore 64.
Well, about a year later, actually, it was the Acorn Atom. So that's a 6502 8-bit processor, and it was just a calculator, like another calculator, but really small, with a 8-digit LED display and a hexadecimal keypad, Acorn System 1. And so I programmed that in a machine code. That was the first computer I owned. So my parents got me that when I was about 13. And so that would be the first computer that I programmed for a long period of time. So, and then from there it went on. Let's see. So it was from then the Acorn Atom came about a year later, and that one you could plug into a TV. So that's like the home. That's more like the computers as we know now. Yeah. And then the BBC Micro, and then the chain for me after that was the Atari ST, and then the Commodore Amiga. And sort of after that, then it became PCs eventually. Yeah.
So the first when you use the calculators and program on calculator, that gives you a very good base in order to program other computer, the assembly and the machine code. That is correct.
Well, yeah. I mean, my introduction to programming was BASIC. Because the language that the Hewlett-Packard 9825 had was kind of similar to BASIC.
I see.
So it was that. But then, when the computer the first computer that I got didn't even have a TV display because it was that early, and that forced me to program in assembler. Not in assembler, in machine code.
Machine code, yeah.
And I would say that's very educational, because I really learnt how a computer internally works. And that was, also when I was still only 13 years of age. So it's a good time to learn stuff like that. So basically I've been programming now for 35 years or something.
I see. So, and then we have what brings us today here. you decide to make a football game, as you, and I see in other interviews about you didn't play football, but you make your own to program your own football game. Why football, Dino? Maybe not basketball. Why football?
Well, because, I had made games before I went to university and made a little bit of money, not much, doing that, something. When I came out of university, eventually I wanted to start making games again, and this was the era where the Atari ST and the Commodore Amiga were hitting the scene. And so, I wanted to get back into that, and I found an opportunity to do that with a publisher that was nearby. That was Anko. And Anko said, well, it was Anil Gupta. He said, well, I kind of noticed that football games are not very good. You thought, we're doing a football game. And so that's why.
So one of the features of your first Kickoff and all the Kickoff saga is about the principal difference with other football games was that the ball was not in your foot with glue. You have touch by touch. That is your first approach to make a real football game?
Well, yeah, because what happened was that I didn't really look at any other games that were out there, which is my style in a way. I mean, I do play games and I do look at what's out there in general and and I played a lot of games, actually. I played a lot of games on the BBC Micro, especially. They were kind of like recreations of some of the arcade classics and so on. So I actually played a lot of games, but it's a different thing that when I come to make a game, I like to start by what I call go to the source. So it's like, don't look at what other people have done. It's look at what you are emulating. So in this case, I looked at football. So not football games, but actually football. And so you deconstruct it into what it is. And there's a ball, and there's a pitch, and there are players, and the players basically punch the ball with their feet.
I see.
They do not carry the ball.
Yeah. So, maybe the American football like.
Yeah, in American football they do, but in this they don't. And so, of course, it's just that. The inspiration for doing that was just to emulate the important part of what football is. It's even in the name. I like to joke about that, Football. It's the football. It's not carry ball, handball, or hand egg, which is the American sport. Football would be better called hand egg, because it's an egg-shaped ball and you carry it in your hand. So it is like, that would make a lot of sense. But somehow that game sort of lost its identity and became something else. I think you have to just go to the source. So the inspiration is football itself. The reason why other games at the time didn't do that was because, I don't know, I think it probably originated with the technical difficulty of doing it on very early computers, but maybe they weren't doing a physics simulation for the ball.
Yeah.
So, but I started with a ball that was a ball. So the first thing I did, after making a pitch that I could put the ball on, right, is just creating that ball and bouncing it around and tuning it until it looked and felt right. But it was always just a loose physics object, not trapped.
No.
And so, that became the distinguishing feature of the game. But in the end, it was nothing more nor less than recreating what I saw.
On the source, eh?
Yeah, going to the source. Other people, other developers at the time probably ended up taking a shortcut, or they said it's probably likely that there was if they tried it, they rejected it because it was difficult. So, if you have the ball sort of carried, then you can create something that kind of is sort of like football, but is easy to play. But that wasn't what was important to me. What's important to me is to try and create something that if you say to me make a football game, or you say to me make any kind of game, then the first thing I'm going to do is go figure out what's important about that game and treat that as precious and not sort of destroy it. So if I had to say what was the thing that I did, I mean, unknowingly at the time, because I was just a young person, but I was in my early 20s, you know, but somehow I had this instinct to doing things this way. What the reason for the success of Kickoff in the end is because I respected the core of what football is, down to, you know, the foot and the ball.
Yeah, because maybe other programs, other football games, just not go to the source, just maybe go to the games before in order to see what is good or what is not, and maybe this is a shortcut to make another similar product, you know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are two approaches to making a game. You can, probably any creative thing that you do, you can go to the source, or you can go to the destination. All right now, do you know what I'm saying? And it's it's very kind of Zen-like and philosophical, but basically, we as human beings have a habit of going to the destination. It's almost like not having the ability to delay gratification. It's like you engaged in an activity because the purpose of the activity is, you know, what you get at the end. And so if you can shortcut it, then you just shortcut it. You can see this in the video game, you know, in the era of console games and so on, where there are these devices that could, you know, the action replay cartridge or the thing or whatever, they'd allow you to mess with the game to give you sort of infinite lives and stuff like this. So in this way, you could, you know, progress through the game more quickly and so on. It's like a desire to get to the end. But the thing is, by doing that, you actually destroy the game.
Yeah.
And do you see what I'm going? Yeah. So I think, you know, if people are making a football game and they kind of work backwards from the end and try to get back to the source, it doesn't work. And I have to be honest, I would say that that's what my competitors in the world that took. I mean, you can see they've had a lot of success. Yes. But I mean, so you can't knock it that much, you know, Pro Evolution Soccer and FIFA. You can't knock it on a certain level because they've had a really huge success. But I think they had that success working from the destination, trying to get back to the source. Yeah. Whereas I work from the source towards the destination. And this basically means that they find it very hard to do some of the things that I do. And maybe that doesn't matter. Although, having seen what people are saying, I mean, you know, I've seen comments and so on, there is a kind of a dissatisfaction for a lot of players with those games. And I think it comes from the fact that in the end, well, I mean, I don't know about the recent versions. I don't know about the recent versions of FIFA and PES because I don't play the games because it's painful for me. That's something I've talked about before. It's painful for me to play football games, but I have done in the past, and so at some point I was quite aware of how Pro Evolution Soccer worked and how FIFA worked. So, you know, okay, maybe it's a bit out of date now. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that it was designed for at least the first 10 years of its existence, and maybe now as well, I don't know, is that you do not really control the play.
Yeah.
What you cannot really aim the shots. Okay, maybe this has changed, but traditionally you could not aim the shots. When you press the fire button, it decided where the ball would go on the basis of how far away you are from the goal, maybe if you broke the offside trap. I mean, Pro Evolution Soccer, when we were playing that quite a lot when we were developing Soccer 2 at Precision in Italy. Mm-hmm. This is back 10 years ago now. And unfortunately, Precision ran out of money before we could find a publisher, so that was the end of that game. Uh-huh. But we used to play Pro Evolution Soccer at lunchtime, and I would play with them on that. And it always had this feeling, I would call it, you know, the gate. It's like the gate is shut. It doesn't matter what you do. You go up to the goal with the ball, you pass the ball around, you shoot, The gate is shut. It doesn't matter. You will never score. And then something would change in the game. And I'm very sensitive to these things. I kind of noticed, and I never really worked out exactly when or what it was that caused the gate to open. But you could just tell. Oh, now the gate is open. Someone is going to score.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they did. I suspect it actually did a thing where because there was the offside rule, the offside trap, and so if you broke the offside trap, which was quite difficult to do, and managed to get one player, so it's now 1-on-1 between that player and the goalkeeper, that act of doing that would change the probability of you scoring. So in a sense, the gate would then open, and when you shot, there was an increased chance that you would score. And this is, for me, this is like horrible. This is like the worst way to do a sports game. It's just fake. And funny is that one of the guys that worked with us, and trying to remember his name now. Anyway, I mean, he'll be furious if I can't remember his name.
Maybe
I think it was Daniele. I think it was, wasn't it? Anyway, he was sort of very, very impassioned by Pro Evolution Soccer and so on. But I said to him one day, you can't. After I played it quite a bit and I kind of figured this stuff out, I said, you can't shoot. You can't choose the direction you shoot in. And he said, of course you can. So I said, well, show it to me. I said, shoot to the right. This was like a penalty situation or something. Like that. So, one-on-one situation. And he said, okay, shoot to the right. So he shot to the right. He said, see? Okay. Shoot to the right again. He said, yeah, look. Okay, shoot to the right again. It went left. and it went, what? And so it was like this. He hadn't realised that, in fact, it was fake. He really thought he was controlling the shots, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is, for me, that I think that's the result that you get when you work backwards, to sum up that story. If you start off by thinking about, trying to make an impressive show of the ball hitting the top of the net, which would happen far too frequently to be real, or just, touching the goalkeeper and get deflecting, or hitting the post and saying, these are the exciting moments of football and we want them to happen when we decide that they will happen. And this is backwards design. This is going from the end result and trying to work back. And I'm not about that. I go to the source, and then I trust that if I am faithful to the source and I build the elements of the game design up, that eventually I will get something that starts to come alive, and it will give you all of those things. You will get the deflections off the post and the goalkeeper, and it will sometimes hit the top of the net. It can do that in kickoff and goal, but it's very rare, because it's about as rare as it is in a real football game, and that's it.
So basically, is honestly, as you say, to make a football game as football it is on the reality. It's not another thing. So another question, Dino. When you start with the first kickoff, you make it directly on the Amiga and ST, or what machine did you use to make the first?
Well, the first 16-bit computer I owned was the ST. So I started off on that, and I built Kickoff on the ST. And then, naturally, there was the Amiga version that we wanted. So I just got an Amiga. Anko gave me an Amiga, and then I made a cable to link that to my ST. And so I developed the Amiga version on the ST, downloading the game into the Amiga. So I was actually using the Amiga more like a console. So although I programmed on the Amiga and I had an Amiga. I didn't really ever use the Amiga as my as my PC. I used my ST as that.
And so you have maybe the feeling that the Amiga was in any way in hardware sound chip better than the Atari ST or not?
Oh, well, there's no doubt that the Amiga was way better in every respect to the ST. I mean, from a technical point of view. Mm-hmm. If you talk to the owners, of course, of these computers, they became attached to them, and you know, they might argue with this or be upset by this statement. I don't really know, but the point is that the Atari ST was built to be a PC. It wasn't really originally built to be a game platform, whereas the Amiga was.
Yeah, that is correct.
And so the hardware is reflected in it. And I believe that the hardware in the Amiga was designed by it's actually designed by a woman, wasn't it? Amiga.
I'm not remember the sound chip.
I'm just going to check. Actually, Amiga chipset designer.
Chip sound was Paula. If you refer to, if you are speaking about the chip sound.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, it's just the graphics chipset of the Amiga was. I'm just want to check my facts here, but it was designed by somebody who was connected. The story was that they originally, if I remember rightly, yes, their chipsets were conceptually designed by J. Minor, which explains the similarity. No, that's not the right person then. Okay, well, don't have time to go into that right now, but I do believe, someone could check, that one of the people who was the designer of the Amiga actually was involved in the design of the Atari 400 and 800 computers, if you remember them. And those were, you know, very popular as a game platform at the time. But I think what happened with the ST was that they envisaged it as a home computer, very much like a PC. So it was designed with that in mind, and it didn't really have any hardware acceleration for graphics. No, it wasn't even possible to do a scrolling pitch. You know, there was no hardware scrolling on the ST. So this actually meant it was pretty underpowered in comparison to the Amiga, and it was quite a challenge to get the ST version to run fast enough. I had to, cheat basically. There are no graphics on the background of the ST version of Kickoff and Kickoff 2 because it's fake. It's just switching the color background on the fly as the image was drawn to create stripes, and then only horizontal and vertical lines with no circles because the circles were slow. So it's like as fast as I could possibly make it, because of the rest of the time was needed to draw the sprites, which it had to be done with the CPU. There was no hardware acceleration, there was no blitter. So there's no doubt about it. The Amiga is a much better machine from a hardware spec. But having said that,
the Atari ST version is also awesome anyway, faster and very good graphics also. It's the same than the Amiga.
No, which one?
Atari ST and Amiga are very similar versions.
Yeah, no, well, the ST doesn't have the hardware, the graphics acceleration in there. So this is the main thing that's missing from the ST. But having said that, in terms of just using it as a PC, as a development platform, something to write the code on and have an editor and then a compiler and so on, the ST was better for me at doing it in that way, because the Amiga I found was a little bit, had a lot of extra stuff in it that would slow it down or get in the way. And I wasn't used to the user interface either, so it worked out really well to just have, be programming on the ST and then treating the Amiga as a game console, that kind of worked out well.
Understood. So when the Kickoff 2, when you released the Kickoff 2, it was many new features like the aftertouch, many improvements from the first Kickoff. Do you think it's the best game of the saga, the Kickoff 2, for you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I started playing it again in the past year, and that was an interesting experience after a very long period of not looking at it. I mean, it's for the way that I measure a game design, I consider it to be crude, but even in its crudeness, it's still fun. I think that Goal is a lot better, more refined.
No.
So what I did was when I did Goal is I looked at what I didn't like in Kickoff, and then I basically wrote the whole thing again from scratch and just took a slightly different route on some of the design decisions. But of course, this had certain problems because it alienated the people who are fans of Kickoff 2 and Kickoff. They didn't really accept the changes that I made. I mean, in retrospect, what I should have done is, I'm not sure what I should have done. Maybe what I should have done is just go do a different game entirely, and just said, okay, I've done Kickoff 2. How can I be better? How can I do better than that? I can't. So now let's make a different game. Might have been a wiser choice, come to think of it. But then on the other hand, Goal is nowhere near as popular as Kickoff 2, but the fans of Goal love it, it seems, today just as much as they've done, in the past. So the ones who like the game, they're staying with it and they still like it as much as those who love Kickoff 2. But I don't think there was a great transition, you see. I don't think it was that the fans of Kickoff 2 moved over to Goal. They didn't. They already had what they wanted. It was more some of the others that didn't really get sucked into Kickoff 2, or of course into sensible soccer, because that was the other one. Goal competed with two other football games. Goal competed with Kickoff 2.
Kickoff 2 and sensible soccer. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, and why you choose for your football games the point of view from the air? Why not the scrolling side, horizontal side, or just from the air? For any reason, from the physicals of the ball?
It comes from certain design constraints that I put on it. I wanted it to be fast, as in 50 frames per second, so that it was synchronized with the TV screen, because you get much smoother animation that way, right? Yeah. So that was one constraint. So this means that I couldn't, have large sprites, and I couldn't do anything clever. I couldn't have 3D, and you could go for a kind of isometric view, I guess, but then this, remember, it was the ST version. I made it on the ST first. So if I want it to be really fast, then I can't do a kind of, three-quarter view, as we used to call it, or a isometric view, because then I'm going to have diagonal lines, and diagonal lines are going to be slow. So from there, you get that there's going to have to be vertical. Because if you're looking at it from above, then I can make the lines horizontal and vertical, and those draw quickly. So, mainly it's the horizontal lines that draw quickly, and the vertical lines are slower. That's just the way that the hardware is. And so having chosen then that I would have an overhead view, the next thing I said, but I don't want it to be completely overhead, because then you're looking down at, a dot, which is the player's head, and it looks ugly, right? So I made it at an angle, and there were two reasons for that. One was that, but the other one was I wanted you to be able to see the goal. Yeah, I thought this was important. As you're,
that's true. That's true.
If you have it
on the gameplay,
if you have a directly overhead, then you can't. So that's the reason for the angle. Is also makes the players look better. But if they were drawn right, because the original Kickoff didn't really have very good graphics, and some of them were overhead and some of them were at an angle. And it was a bit of a mess, and I hated that, but never mind. I was nothing I could do about it. So anyway, so you've got it at an angle, then you can see the goal. Of course, only the top goal. The bottom goal, that always bugged me. You can never see into the bottom. But I never really found a good solution to that. So I lived with it on the bottom goal. But at least you could see the top goal. But if you think about it, if I turned it around horizontally and had it overhead, right, then you would never be able to see the goal.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you'll be side on. And if I tried to be clever and sort of have it at an angle horizontally, right, then I'd end up with non-straight lines. There'd be diagonal lines. I mean, they'd be straight, but they'd be diagonal, and then that would be slow. So you can see how it comes out. It's like, okay, you end up with that as the solution. Overhead and vertical. That way, at least you can see the top goal mouth. And it's better for the bottom goal mouth too, than if it was just, completely flat. And, there's shadows on the ground, so that also helps with understanding where the goal mouth is on the bottom. And that's how it is. It's so there was no other way at the time on the Amiga, on the Atari ST. There was no other way to achieve the combination of things that I wanted other than to have that view.
Yeah. So on your games, you have for the players and also for the reefers, you have I don't know to call the random names, familiar games, or when you was a teen. And any time you think or Anko think about to get a license from players for teams, or never thinking about?
Well, back then, it's like Anko was a small company. And there wasn't really at that time as well this whole thing about using real player names, that really started with FIFA.
It's not a good idea for a starting company, no?
Well, there's that. But it's also, it wasn't it became more of a big thing later on. And my games were never really about that anyway.
Your games are just to play, not just to see familiar names.
Yeah, I mean, this really bugs me about what happened. I mean, you can just look at it. I really find it quite depressing on a certain level. It's like going and taking something that should be a sport, and then making it a spectator event. If you think about it, and in fact, that's what they did with these other football games that, the Pro Evolution Soccer and the FIFA. It started with FIFA. They basically removed that competitive element from it, the sporting element, the skill-based element, and they kind of went backwards from TV, So it becomes all about, we're going to have real teams in there with the real names and the real player faces, because the people who are going to buy this game are the ones who are mad about the sport and want to see those players. And I think I don't know if it's everyone's getting a bit tired of it now with, the 17,000th version of FIFA.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so now we have a new version of FIFA this year with this year's players. And so you can see Rooney in every little bit of Wayne Rooney in every little bit of detail, all the players now, you look at them, it's getting to be photographic quality,
Yeah.
But let's face it, when you're playing the game, the camera is pulled out.
Yeah.
Right? You can't see that detail anymore.
Only on replays. Only on
replays. And so when you're doing the replay, that fantastic goal that you scored in your living room isn't your goal anymore.
That's true.
No, it's Wayne Rooney just scored. I mean, isn't that right? You see in the replay, but Wayne Rooney scored, but it wasn't Wayne Rooney, it was you. And so that, for me, is the great tragedy, is that the whole game has removed what it was there for. It was there so that you can have fun playing football, right?
No.
And it's replaced it with having to see very close-up shots of Wayne Rooney. I cannot see that this is an improvement.
Yeah, because maybe the point is when you take, for example, you take one kickoff and I play one versus one to you. I play football one team to another team. The new players with the new games get the FIFA or get the PAS and play Barcelona versus Bayern Munich. You know, they not play a football game. They play franchises, footballer names.
Team. Yeah, they play your team against a team.
Yes. So maybe the source of football, as you first say on this interview, is to go to the source and play the sport. Just the sports, not all the world around the sports.
That's the whole point. That is the whole point. That's what we do with games. That's the reason for having games. Is that? I mean, to give how ridiculous this would be.
Yeah.
Or this is a way of looking at it. It would seem ridiculous. Would be if they replaced all first-person shooters with the images of world-class first-person shooters.
Yeah.
So you've got because let's say it became a world sport that was really big, so that there were personalities, the world's greatest first-person shooter, right? A TV celebrity, earns millions, whatever. Everybody adores this guy playing first-person shooters. He's unbeatable or whatever. And so you get the first-person shooter, which is, it's sponsored by him, or they've got his likeness in it, right? So when you're playing this game, you see him. You see the world's best. You are the world's best because you see his picture. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But that's what's happened with
the new industry. That is absolutely correct. And also with the football game. And why maybe it's more practical, but why the goalkeeper in all your football games was managed by the computer for the easy players or just for make the game quickly?
No, it comes back to you go back to the source. When you watch a football game, you get a sense that there is a real activity and choices being made and so on, which are vital amongst the players. Uh-huh. And eventually they get close to the goal and then someone shoots.
Yeah.
And yes, goalkeepers, there are better goalkeepers and there are worse goalkeepers. But the actual battle is not won or lost. Football itself is not really fundamentally about the goalkeeper on a certain level. I mean, okay, goalkeeper is very important. It's got to be there but in a way, all the goalkeeper does is make the goal smaller. And that's the job of the goalkeeper, right? I mean, you could just possibly reduce the size of the goal mouth down and just do a version of football that didn't have goalkeepers, and you just make the goal small enough. At a certain point, there's a certain size that you could make where the probability of scoring would be the same. So the score lines in football would remain the same, but there would be no goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so really it's a kind of reflection of that on a certain level. The other thing is a practical one, which is that there are two different modes of operation. If you are trying to tackle a player who is coming at the goal, you're controlling that player. So just picture for a minute what should happen if you need to switch to the goalkeeper. So when do you do that? Do you do that when the ball is shot? Mm-hmm. Well, nobody's going to have the reaction time to be able to do anything sensible. When you think about penalties, for example, the goalkeeper cannot react in time. So the only way that they can save a penalty or increase their chances of saving a penalty is to guess where the opponent is going to shoot and maybe look for clues in the way they move and so on. The clues in the way they move, you're not going to get on a football game like Kickoff.
Yeah.
It's any of them. So there isn't really anything you can do. It becomes random. And so just keep it random. What I could have done, that I know there was some call for, having some control of the keeper. It would be quite nice to be able to take control of the keeper on a request so that you can then operate that goalkeeper position, really, but you don't have to dive. So maybe, he dives automatically, but you can change, where he stands or something like that. Maybe there's an argument for doing something like that, but the actual act of pressing the button in order to initiate the save is not something that a human can do in time. So it's pointless.
If you make the kickoff on time with only one fire button, with you can jump, or we can pass, and you can shoot all with very easy with one button. But if you will on time, if you will have on the 80s the option to add additional inputs to your game, you'll do, or you satisfied with only one fire button?
This is a difficult one.
You know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, because I've agonized over it when I moved over, when I did the version on the Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, that's you have involved in the code of the Mega Drive version or not?
Well, the Mega Drive version is me.
It's me.
It's so the original. It's the original code ported over, and I did all the programming for the Sega Mega Drive version. The Super NES version was not me. They had the source code. There was a contractual arrangement in place, but they chose to just do their own thing rather than respecting my design. And the fact that it's called Dino Dini Soccer is something that I just sort of regret so much.
I did not play the Mega Drive or the Super NES, but I suppose they that versions will use more than one input.
Sorry, because the discussion, you asked me about which versions I did. We need to get back on topic. You're right.
The 16 bits
controller.
Yeah.
So the controller. The point of the consoles coming up was that the
we can speak about the console later if you want. No problem.
No, it's fine. But I mean, the controllers of the ST and the Amiga, they were the traditional one fire button.
One fire button only, yeah.
Then with the consoles, you've got this other arrangement. There's the consoles meant we had these horrible pads. Mm-hmm. And I say horrible because they were horrible.
I have to confess that I'm not be able to play Kickoff with the control pad. I need joystick.
Yeah,
I don't know what the other players, but I am unable to play the Kickoff with one pad. I need the joystick.
Absolutely. The problem with the pads is that the thumb, when you're doing, with the joystick, you were using your arm.
Yeah.
To control the stick. A rotation of the wrist or whatever is actually all your lower arm from the elbow. It's basically you're able to use your whole arm. With these thumb flipping controller, thumb pads, you're actually controlling everything with only the muscles of your thumb.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't feel so nice. It's not kind of a good experience. You're not grabbing hold of the situation. You're kind of just sort of like pushing it around with the end of your thumb. It's really not very satisfying. I'm kind of digressing a little bit. I'll come on to the buttons in a minute. The only reason that there was this transition is my theory from these lovely traditional kind of arcade-inspired joysticks to these horrible thumb controllers is simply to do with packaging. Mm-hmm. It's that you can fit those controllers into the box. They take up less shelf space, but I don't think they are in any way,
Yeah, maybe don't improve the game with more number of inputs.
No. Yeah, but anyway, but that's to do with the thumb, and then there's the inputs.
Yeah.
So what they did then, of course, is because they went the other way. So from one button, then it became 75. Of these things. And I tell you that I mean, someone's going to say, "Oh my God, Dino doesn't know how to use a controller," because I'm going to tell you, honest truth here, I hate the controllers with all these buttons.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I remember when I go to play competition or kickoff games to house of my neighborhood, I always give my kick shot 2 with me. Always, always, because it's like you go, you play away home. You have to own your own joystick, or you will be dead.
The people who still play these games, the Milan World Cup. They come with their own homemade joysticks, and it's because the thing is the control. It's something that is very difficult and
personal with your own joystick.
It's important.
Yeah.
The thing is these thumb controllers, they're often not very reliable either. But anyway, back to the buttons. So the original game only had one button. But so when I made the Mega Drive version, I started to use the other buttons, because the main thing that was a problem was the difference between passing and shooting. So I think I had a pass button and a shoot button and so on. But I'll tell you this, that for any design I ever make, I kind of really want to keep the number of buttons down to a minimum.
Yeah, I know.
It's so important. Because otherwise that becomes a barrier to entry and you never really get to settle in. I think for me, it's if I can make sure that I never have to move my left hand. If I'm doing a game that's like a keyboard and a mouse, I can live with that, because as long as I don't have to move my hand, as long as I don't have to look at the controller.
Yeah, more simply for most fun, I suppose.
Well, there's that too, and this is also borne out in what's happened on iOS and the pads and so on. It's touch screens that you can see how that's really worked. That people, you think about Angry Birds, for example. The interface of Angry Birds is incredibly simple. It couldn't be simpler. You just press and you swipe and you let go, and that's it. And
no, tell me. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying again. It's kind of. I would like to see the focus being, down to elegance of design rather than trying to cram in as many features on the controller as possible. And
now that you say about the Angry Birds, what do you think? Because maybe in one way, when you make your games, you make the graphics, you make everything. You have no team to work on your game. So maybe you was one of the first indie developers. What do you think about the new indie movement around this thing? Do you know?
Well, I was an indie developer, and I wasn't the only one. There was a thriving indie scene in the sense that there were many independent developers creating some very imaginative and wonderful games back at the end of the 80s, early 90s. So indie is back, but it's been here before.
It's always there, huh?
Yeah, well, but it died. I'm going to say it. Sony, when they brought out their PlayStation, that caused a lot of damage to that scene. From there on, the whole console thing, and then also the internet and piracy and the loss of platforms like the Amiga. It's kind of created a kind of dark age. But in the last, I think, ever since Apple created the App Store and their iOS thing, they did one thing that was different from every other stakeholder or platform holder that had come before, and that they actually allowed anybody to make games. And then we've seen this kind of explosion since, and it's wonderful on a certain level. But on another level, we've still got a lot of work to do to be able to get back to where we were artistically in game design. 1990 up to about 1994 when the PlayStation came out, because I really haven't seen that quite the same way. And it's getting there, and there are some people who are making great games, indie games, which are astonishing. I think one game I think is astonishing that actually got published by Sony, redressing a little bit of the damage maybe, was Juanje, which I think is an amazing game. Mm-hmm. But yes, it is coming back. A game like Angry Birds is kind of interesting because in the end it isn't actually very innovative. It's a very old game.
Yeah.
It's that's what's intriguing about it, is that it was done very well. Mm-hmm. And it had some elements to it that immediately caught the imagination of people, and it took off. Yeah. And this is great. But I think it took them something like 10 years to find that. So they've been making games for a long time, and then eventually they made something that took off. And this is the problem that we're facing in the industry now, is that the AAA mega production thing is probably on the way out. Grand Theft Auto 5, with its quarter of a billion budget. It's crazy.
Yes, but how much?
It's probably on the way out. I don't think that those kinds of games are going to be made so much anymore. So what we're left with is the indie scene. But there the problem lies. How can you actually get seen? How can you can have a great game and nobody will play it?
Yeah.
So the thing has kind of moved. The problem has shifted. I think it's a better problem to have than not being able to make indie games at all. But sorry, you're going to ask something, and I was just finishing.
No. Continue. That I say that the Grand Theft Auto, the $250,000 project, but they get the benefits very fast. Very fast.
Well, they did, yes. I mean, that you can look at it and say
it was awesome. How many copies digitally and physically has sent? It's awesome. The benefits was in 24 hours. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the accountants are all very happy.
Yeah,
but I'm going to stick my neck. I haven't actually got the game yet. I'm kind of, I might get Grand Theft Auto, but I'm not that inclined to do it because I played the game to death already. Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, give me something that's actually new. And I haven't heard of anything yet that's actually new. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone can tell me. Well, there is this thing from game design point of view that is new. That new in the sense that you're not bored of it because you haven't seen it before.
Yeah, maybe the online model. Did you check already or not yet? The online.
I haven't. No, that would be a thing to check. But I've got this. I want to see how it works out. Also, because if I get Grand Theft Auto 5, it's totally meaningless unless I can devote a good deal of time to it, and that is not really an option for me at the moment. I'm very busy, but I think if there is the online, if there is an online version, I think before I invest time in it, I'm going to just see what people think about it, because one of the things that troubles me is I'm not sure how it's actually going to end up working, and be something more than just a first-person shooter, for example, like people just shooting each other. I mean, so I don't know. I need to, at some point when I've got time, I'm going to investigate this a bit more. But, yeah, I mean, is there, fundamentally it's the same game, isn't it? And, you can say, oh, well, it's made a lot of money. But it is a game that has made a lot of money by working backwards.
Yeah.
It's just like I was saying at the beginning. So, it was all focused on a very large budget and very expensive marketing. The fact that the Grand Theft Auto brand is so strong that they could do the math. And what they needed to do was make a game that was good enough that it wouldn't damage the brand, but it almost didn't matter what they delivered. I'm not saying what they delivered was bad, but I'm saying it almost doesn't matter what they delivered. They were going to make their money back. And yeah, they ended up making $1 billion in 2 days or something, which is kind of crazy.
That is kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. But is this the model for our industry? Because I tell you what's going to happen if it is, then we're going to have it's going to end up with like 4 game releases a year.
Yeah.
Of these mega productions. And that's all that we have. And I can't really see that we're going to have that kind of innovation that we get from the indie scene happening at that level. And in fact, I predict that the industry, that the audience are going to get bored. I'm even just seeing following on what people are saying on the media and so on. There are already people who are beginning to criticize Grand Theft Auto. I think I saw a comment the other day that said, well, Grand Theft Auto isn't fun if it isn't online. And so that makes you think, doesn't it? Because I think this was a tweeter said it, and he said the tweeter said in response, well, you were really going crazy about this game like a week ago. What happened?
Yeah.
So that and so what you've got is, you could try wowing the audience with bigger levels and better graphics and bigger production value, but in the end, you'll go the way what Hollywood did.
Yeah.
That the really expensive productions are not going to be able to continue wowing the public. They want fun, and then it doesn't matter how you give fun. You can get fun probably more effectively and with less risk and bigger profit by looking at what some of the indies have done. A great example of this is, of course, Minecraft. So you got one guy by himself. And,
maybe it looks like the movies. You get Hollywood productions with many effects, with many money in special effects, but the movie, it's not so funny, and the movie doesn't mean you anything, and you go to another movie that has not that impressive special effects, but you enjoy, and you go out of the cinema and you are happy, and you say to the friends, go out to see this movie, it's better than the others,
Yeah, this is it, isn't it? I mean, it's sad that so often the focus is on stuff that really doesn't matter. And in the end, there's nothing like it that beats a good story. There's nothing that beats a good drama in a film. And that's the real reason people go to watch the film. As you think about Star Wars, for example. All the discussions about Star Wars and how for many people the whole Star Wars thing was ruined when they did episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then there's that horrible moment, the crying out no of whatever that just sort of like completely caused the whole thing to jump the shark. If you know that expression, do you know the expression "jump the shark"? Anyway, I won't go into that right now. But basically, it lost credibility. But, what did the people talk about? They're not talking about the special effects.
No.
Oh, they don't care. They don't care about the special effects. They care about the fact that the plot doesn't make any sense, or that the dialogue is very cheesy, or they just, in the end, what it is that they don't believe it. Yeah. They don't. It becomes unbelievable, and it just doesn't matter how much money you spend on special effects if the fundamental thing is not believable.
this was happening on the movies industry in the late years, because many people go to the movies and see, what about the film? Oh, great! Special effects was awesome. I enjoy a lot. But what about the movie? The movie, holy shit! So this is happening a lot of time with too many new movies, AAA movies that has a marketing production very, very aggressive, you know.
Yeah.
But then the movie don't tell you anything.
No. I mean, you know, one of the signs of a good movie is that it changes you. It's like it sticks with you, it stays with you afterwards.
Yeah.
And a bad movie is one that you kind of immediately forget. Mm-hmm. And when you think about that, it's got nothing at all to do with budget, to be honest. And I think I just wonder what happens actually in Hollywood and in the video game industry.
In the video games as well.
So what is it that makes this go wrong? Because the formula is easy. You find people who know how to write a script, and you use them to write your script. And then the same as with everything else, but really in the end, the story is the starting point. Why does it happen so often that you can throw away a heap of money where the most important thing was not covered? You know, I see this in the game industry too. There are some people out there who really do know how to construct a game in a way that it is fun and convincing and captures the imagination and draws people in and gets their heart racing. And there are tons of these people, and a lot of them are the ones that cut their teeth on the early industry in the arcade industry, and then on the early computer systems and so on. But the industry doesn't use these people. You know, the big industry. So the only place where they can eke out a living is in the indie space, which is overcrowded. Mm-hmm. What I'd love to see happen is that there's kind of like a joining of the huge resources that certain companies have with the huge talent that some people have, and get. Can you imagine what would happen if they could work together?
Yeah. Oh.
You know, we could create masterpieces.
Masterpieces. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I want to see. I'm not seeing masterpieces. I would need to look at Grand Theft Auto 5 before I could judge it. But I don't know. Do you think Grand Theft Auto 5 is a masterpiece?
I don't know, because I have no.
You don't know either.
Do you know what? I have no PS3. The only new generation console I have is the Nintendo Wii, and just for my son, for my little son. I have no Xbox, no PS3. I just keep stand on the PS2 and the PC. I used to play multiplayer games, sort of FPS games, sport games, and also I keep my Commodore Amiga or via emulators. But I have all days on YouTube, or my friends, everybody's speaking about the GTA 5. So maybe I have to go to a friend of mine to see in live what the people are speaking about.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it might be that it is a masterpiece. I'm not. But what I've seen of the game is a clip where you can go into a strip joint and get a lap dance in extremely high resolution detail. Mm-hmm. And I've seen another clip where you can steal a jet. But let's take the steal a jet example. You know, it's like, this is how you steal a jet in Grand Theft Auto 5. And having watched the video, I've got no inclination to do it. It's like, it doesn't seem very fun, but this is what you do. You get your car somehow into the airport, and as the jet is taking off, you ram its front wheels with the car, which causes the jet to stop. Then you get out of the car and you run up towards the front. And then when you get close enough to a front, you suddenly pop into the thing and you're able to fly it and you take off. It's kind of a bit weird, isn't it?
No.
When you, is that fun?
Not. At least it's not real. At least it's not so real.
No, I mean, but yeah, the question is that fun? And I'm thinking, no, it isn't fun because I only need to do it in my head, and then I don't need to do it in the game. You know, it's like that's it. Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll see. We should probably move on to a different topic, or I don't know. You've got any other questions to ask me?
Yes, I know it's too late for both. Let me ask you the last one for the interview, okay?
Okay.
and we can finish. Dino, after the saga Kickoff, the games you make for the 16 bits, you are now working in other projects presently about Boogie Wars, or have you any other?
Boogie Wars is a kind of a game I've been working on for the last year and a half or something. It's been just sitting on the shelf, and then I take it off, and then I look at it again, and then play with it, adjust something, and then come back a month later. Mm-hmm. It's a way that can work quite well with me. And then just a little while ago, I came back to it after a long break, and I thought, well, I like it. So, and sometimes you have to leave a gap before you come back. So I thought, why not try and see if we can take it further? But I basically am stuck because I need to see people play the game. So I need testers.
Yeah.
So what I've done recently is I've put out a call for people to play test the game.
I signed up.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. I signed up, but not receive any mails yet.
No. There is no. There are no emails get sent back. Unfortunately, the registration system that I'm using doesn't send out an email.
So it will be a web game based, or we have to download anything to install on our computers.
It probably is going to be just a web-based thing. I mean, rather than a build. At this point, I've tried making a web build, and it seems to be fine. Mm-hmm. So at some point, I'm just letting the numbers go up. I guess I should send out an update of how it's going, and maybe send people confirmation email. But the system by itself doesn't do that. And really what I want to do is just watch people play the game so that I can figure out how to take it to the next step. So that's why I call it a pre-alpha at this point.
Yeah.
It's playable game, and it should be fun. At least it's fun. It's fun kind of sandbox mode, but to see what happens competitively.
Yes, I see the videos you passing through the gates and the buggy making shots to no one because you are playing along. Yeah. But it will be funny when you figure out that there are maybe about 10 or 12 buggies going through gates and shooting each other. It must be fun.
It's what I need to see. At the moment, I'm limiting it to 4 in a level. But it might be. But these are things I need to know. It's like, does it work with 16 buggies? Or does it just become a complete mess? And what refining some of the rules? I mean, because you've got these rockets that you can fire at your opponent to slow them down. And I know in an earlier version I did this thing where if you only had a certain amount of time to fix if you missed a gate, and otherwise you get disqualified. And that didn't really work very well with the combat mode. So I took that off and. So that you can always recover.
We will try to help you to find the bug fixes and to improve the game. Don't worry about that.
Well, that's the idea. And then where it goes from there, I don't know, because I mean it's more like a hobby thing at the moment. Mm-hmm. But it's also an experiment, like Peter Molyneux did his cube, didn't he? It was an experiment. This is my experiment.
Okay, Dino, thank you Thank you very much. As Italian has anything to speak in Spanish or not yet?
Who's that? What, me?
Yes. You have any words in Spanish for our audience? Or not?
No, posso parlare in italiano.
In italiano.
Italiano, ma non in spagnolo.
No español. Bueno. Dino, muchas gracias.
You're welcome. How would you say? Do you say prego?
Yes, I say thank you very much. Muchas gracias in Spanish.
Okay, and do the Spanish have the equivalent of the Italian prego?
Prego. Okay. I take note. Sorry for my bad English. I try to improve daily. Thank you very much for give Amigamers as a young channel. We make a 1 year on December, so we are a very young channel. We are only at telling you before 23 videos around, and we'll make it into English as soon as possible. Dino, for me was a pleasure. Thank you very, very, very much for joining us. And if you have anything to tell people, anything, play games, do not...
I do have something to say. Is go find great indie games and pay for them.
Yeah, that is very, very good.
Because those people who made it, they've got to, they probably want to earn their living making games, and if they're good at it, they should have the right to. And that
contribute with them, okay?
Contribute
with them. Okay. Thank you very much, Dino.
All right.
All the best.
Okay, take care.